I didn't find her because I was looking for love. I found her because I was killing time. It was one of those open mic poetry nights at a quiet bookstore cafe downtown. I didn't even like poetry that much. I just hated going back to my apartment after work. The silence there had weight. At 27, I had a stable job, a decent salary, and a fridge that was always full. But I hadn't had anyone to text, "I'm home," to in almost 2 years. That night, I was sitting in the back, pretending to read the menu for the third time when she walked in. She wasn't dressed dramatically. Just jeans, a loose cream sweater, hair tied back like she didn't care how it fell. She looked around the room like she was calculating whether she'd made a mistake coming. Then she spotted the only empty chair, the one across from me. "Is this taken?" she asked. Her voice was softer than the room deserved. "No," I said quickly. Too quickly. She sat down. 25 years old, I would later learn. At the time, she just looked steady, calm in a way that made me feel louder than I actually was. We didn't talk during the first two readings. But during the third, when a guy dramatically compared Heartbreak to a burning cathedral of despair, she leaned slightly toward me and whispered, "Do you think he practiced that in the mirror?" I laughed. Quietly, but real. That was it. That was the shift. We started whispering comments to each other between performances. Harmless things. Observations. Jokes. When there was a break, she finally held out her hand. "I'm Aisha." "Daniel." We shook hands like we were signing a contract neither of us had read. Turns out she'd just moved to the city 3 months ago. New marketing job. Small apartment with thin walls. She didn't know many people yet. Same, I said, though I'd been there for years. I just hadn't known anyone deeply. After the event ended, we stood outside under a flickering streetlight, neither of us in a hurry. "I didn't expect to enjoy this," she said. "Me neither." There was a pause. The kind that can either end something or start it. "Do you come here often?" she asked. First time, I admitted. She smiled. "Liar." I shrugged. "Okay. Second." She laughed, and I felt something unfamiliar. Not fireworks, not obsession, just the quiet awareness that I didn't want the night to end. We walked to the subway together. Where her train came, she hesitated. "Maybe I'll see you here again." "Maybe," I said. But when she stepped inside, she turned back. "Or you could just ask for my number." I felt stupid for not thinking of it first. We exchanged numbers. Simple. No dramatic tensión. That night, back in my apartment, I stared at her name on my phone longer than I should have. I typed a message. "Made it home." She replied almost instantly. "Yeah, did you?" And just like that, the silence in my apartment didn't feel as heavy. I didn't know then that this would become a romantic breakup story I'd replay in my head years later. At that moment, it just felt like curiosity. But curiosity can be dangerous. It makes you want more. And I definitely wanted more. Our first real date was at a Sunday farmer's market. Bonding scene 1. She insisted we try every sample. Strawberries, honey, some kind of spicy cheese neither of us liked, but pretended to. She walked ahead of me, turning back every few steps to say, "You're walking too slow." "I'm observing," I said. "You're overthinking." She wasn't wrong. Bonding scene 2 happened a week later. It rained unexpectedly while we were walking home from dinner. We ran under a tiny bus stop shelter, laughing soaked. "Your hair looks terrible," she said, brushing water from my forehead. "You look worse." We stood too close. Not dramatic, just close enough that I could feel her breathing slow down. I kissed her first. Gentle. Testing. She didn't hesitate. Bonding scene 3 was quieter. A Tuesday night at my apartment. We ordered cheap takeout and watched a documentary neither of us cared about. She curled into my side like she'd been doing it for years. "This feels easy," she said. It did. A few weeks in, she told me something vulnerable. We were sitting on her kitchen floor at midnight, backs against the cabinets. "I'm scared of staying in one place too long," she admitted. "My parents always did that. Same town, same routine. I don't want to wake up at 40 and feel stuck." I nodded. "I actually want the opposite," I said. "Stability, something that lasts." She looked at me carefully. "That doesn't scare you. It scares me more to keep starting over." We didn't argue. We just let the words sit there. Routine formed without permission. Thursday dinners. Sunday morning coffee at the same cafe. Random Wednesday texts. Miss you. We met each other's friends slowly. She left a toothbrush at my place. I left a hoodie at hers. Some nights, we lay in bed talking about nothing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? She asked once. Same city, I said. Hopefully with someone I don't have to search for anymore. She smiled but didn't answer. At the time, I thought silence meant agreement. Looking back, maybe it was the first hint of relationship timing not lining up. Still, those months were simple. It felt like an emotional love story unfolding naturally. No chows, no games, just two people choosing each other again and again. And I thought that was enough. The disagreement wasn't explosive. It happened over pasta. She'd been offered a short-term project in another city. 6 months. Good opportunity. Fast growth. I haven't said yes, she told me. But you want to? She twirled her fork slowly. I think I do. I try to smile. It's 6 months. Yeah, but 6 months can change people. I started overthinking everything after that. Every time she talked about work, I heard distance in her voice. Every time I mentioned future plans in the city, she went quiet for half a second too long. We didn't fight. We just paused more. Silence became heavier. One night, she asked, would you ever move? For a job? For something bigger? I knew what she meant. I don't know, I said honestly. She nodded like she expected that answer. There was no villain, no dramatic betrayal, just two directions slowly revealing themselves. It was the beginning of growing apart, but we didn't say it out loud. We just held each other tighter at night, like that could stop time. It couldn't. She got the official offer on a Thursday afternoon. I knew before she told me. Her text was too simple. Can we talk tonight? When I arrived at her apartment, she was sitting on the edge of the couch. Hands clasped. Not crying. Just thinking. They want me there in 2 months, she said. That's fast. Yeah. I nodded slowly. You're going to take it. She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were glossy but controlled. I think I have to. He sat beside her. Not touching. Do you want me to ask you to stay? I asked. She shook her head. No, because if I had, she might have. And then she would have resented it later. We both knew that. This is stupid, I said quietly. What is? That we can care this much and still not fit. She looked at me then. Really looked. It's not about not fitting. It's about timing. Right person, wrong time. The phrase felt cliché, but sitting there, it felt brutally accurate. We didn't cry. We just sat in the quiet, knowing something had shifted permanently. No dramatic music. No slam doors. Just a quiet pause that lasted too long. The 2 months before her move were strange. We acted normal. We still had Thursday dinners. Still shared coffee. But texts got shorter. Busy day. Yes, same. Missed calls happened more often. Not intentionally. Just life filling gaps faster than we could. One night, we went back to the bookstore cafe where we met. Same corner table. Feels smaller, she said. Yeah. We smiled. It almost felt normal again. Like maybe we'd exaggerated everything. On the way home, she held my hand tighter than usual. That night, I typed a message after she fell asleep next to me. Maybe we could try long distance. Maybe I could visit more. Maybe I didn't send it. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't about logistics. It was about who we were becoming. And we were becoming different people. I deleted the message. That felt like the real goodbye. We ended it on her balcony. 2 weeks before her move. The city lights below us looked the same as always. That felt unfair. She wrapped her arms around herself. I don't want to drag this out, she said softly. Me neither. Long pause. I love you, she added. It wasn't a weapon. It was a truth. I love you too. We both stared straight ahead. I don't want you to stay because of me, I said. And I don't want to follow you just to keep us alive. She nodded, tears finally slipping down. I don't want either of us to shrink. That word hit. Shrink. Because that's what would have happened. One of us would have compromised something fundamental. This wasn't a toxic relationship. There were no villains. Just a mature breakup forming quietly. We tried, she whispered. We did. Another pause. Half-finished sentences floating between us. If things were different, yeah. She stepped closer and hugged me. Not desperate, just firm. We stayed like that for a long time. When we finally pulled apart, she wiped her face and tried to smile. You're going to be okay. So are you. I wanted to say more. Something dramatic. Something that would make this feel meaningful. But all I managed was, I'm really glad it was you. She closed her eyes at that. Me too. And that was it. No jitting. No slam doors. Just love, letting go with love. Sometimes that's worse. It's been a year. She moved. I stayed. We didn't block each other. We just stopped checking. I focused on work. Started therapy. Traveled a little. Not to escape, just to understand myself better. I realized something. Love isn't always about fighting harder. Sometimes it's about recognizing relationship timing for what it is. We were a realistic love story. Not dramatic. Not tragic. Just honest. I don't regret us. She taught me that comfort doesn't mean stagnation. And I showed her that stability doesn't mean being stuck. That's the strange thing about growing apart. It doesn't erase what you built. It just shifts it into memory. If this is a romantic breakup story, it's also a story about maturity. Right person, wrong time isn't an excuse. It's an acknowledgement. I still think about that bookstore sometimes. About how accidental it all felt. And how real. I don't miss her every day anymore. But I miss who we were in that moment of becoming. Some loves aren't meant to last forever. They're meant to teach you how to love the next time, without fear. And sometimes, letting go with love is the bravest thing you can do. Because the hardest truth I've learned is this. Love can be real, even when it doesn't stay.